Have you ever worked super hard for many years only to feel like you are not moving forward? Maybe you studied something you never liked because someone told you it was smart. Perhaps you built a business in a field that was not right, fighting problems every single day. Or maybe, right now, you are climbing a big mountain, tired and unsure, wondering if this is even the right mountain for you. Here is a truth that can change everything. Sometimes, the problem is not how hard you work. It is that you are working hard on the wrong road. Because when you choose the correct way, half the fight is already won. This is the story of a man who learned this lesson in the hardest way possible. He spent 10 years on the wrong path before finding the right one. Stay with me until the end. By the time this story finishes, you will know for sure if you are on your right path. Once, in a busy city full of big dreams and loud sounds, lived a 35-year-old lawyer named Daniel. From the outside, Daniel had it all. He had a law degree from a very good school, a job at a respected company, and a salary that made his parents proud. He even had an office with his name on the door. But inside, Daniel was struggling. Every morning, his alarm felt like a jail sentence. Every case felt like a heavy weight. Every time he went to court, it took away all his energy. He would sit at his desk looking at legal papers and feel nothing. No strong interest, no joy, just a duty. His friends at work did very well. They talked about cases with fire in their eyes. They cheered their wins with real happiness. They spoke law like it was poetry. But Daniel felt like an actor playing a part he never wanted. 10 years before, at 25, Daniel had a big choice to make. He loved writing stories and articles. He loved how words could draw pictures and touch hearts. He dreamed of becoming a writer, traveling the world, telling important stories. But his father, a rich businessman, had told him, "Son, writing is just a hobby, not a job. Law is steady, respected, safe. You will thank me later." Daniel, young and not sure, had listened. He told himself, "I will do law for a few years, make money. Then I will write." But years turned into a whole 10 years. The longer he stayed, the harder it was to leave. Now, at 35, Daniel was doing great by what everyone else saw, but he was very unhappy inside. He worked 70 hours a week, but only got average results. Everything took twice the effort it should. He saw younger lawyers move up faster, not because they were smarter, but because they loved what they did. Meanwhile, Daniel felt like he was swimming against a strong river that never stopped. His wife saw it. "Daniel," she said one evening, "you have not smiled about work in years. When did you stop being happy?" He wanted to answer, but he could not remember the last time work made him happy. That night he could not sleep. One thought kept going through his mind. What if I am on the wrong road? What if I have wasted 10 years? 3 months later, Daniel fell down in his office. It was severe tiredness from too much work and constant worries. His body, after years of making itself do work it did not want to do, had finally said, "No more." The doctor looked at his papers and asked a simple question. "What is your job?" "I am a lawyer." The doctor paused. "Do you like it?" Daniel opened his mouth to say yes. It was the automatic answer he had given for 10 years. But this time, in a clean hospital room, looking at the clear signs of his own burnout, the truth came out. "No, I hate it. I have hated it for years." The doctor slowly nodded. "Your body is trying to tell you something. You cannot spend 40 years fighting against who you truly are. Something has to change. Daniel left the hospital with medicine and a warning. He needed to lessen his worries or face serious health problems. But how do you lessen worries when the worry is your whole life? That evening, sitting alone in his apartment, Daniel did something he had not done in 10 years. He opened an old box from his college days. He took out a journal full of articles he had written when he was 22. Travel stories, interviews, pieces about people who helped their towns. He read his own words and felt something break open inside him. These were not just good, they were alive, full of strong feeling, real. This was who he had been before he chose the safe way, before he stopped listening to himself. Daniel whispered to the empty room, "I cannot do this anymore. I would rather fail at something I love than win at something that is slowly killing me." The next morning, Daniel moved fast, before doubt could creep in. He went to a small cafe he had heard about, a place where a retired journalist named Margaret held informal talks for writers. Margaret was 68 years old. Her silver hair and knowing eyes had seen 4 decades of newsrooms across 3 different lands. She had stopped working as a journalist 5 years ago, but she loved teaching too much to quit entirely. Daniel sat across from her, feeling nervous and unsure. Margaret simply smiled. "Tell me your story," she said. And Daniel poured out everything. He spoke of the wrong college degree, the wasted 10 years, the hospital, the moment he realized he was living someone else's life. When he finished, he thought she would tell him he was too old to start fresh, that he had lost too much time, that he should just be sensible. Instead, Margaret took a piece of paper and drew 2 rivers. She began. She then drew a second river. She looked straight at Daniel. Daniel felt tears start to form. Finally, someone understood. Margaret went on. Quote 17, quote 18. Margaret leaned back. Quote 19. Quote, she slid a notebook across the table. Quote 20. Daniel picked up the notebook, like it was the only thing that could save him. Quote 21, he asked. Margaret smiled. Quote 22. Daniel started small. Every morning, before the law firm, he woke up at 5 in the morning and wrote for 90 minutes. The first week was hard. The words felt awkward. He doubted everything. But by the second week, something changed. He wrote an article about a homeless man who built a library for his community. Then a piece about a teacher who changed a whole school. Then he looked into a local environmental problem. For the first time in 10 years, Daniel felt a feeling he had forgotten. Flow. Time disappeared. 2 hours felt like 20 minutes. He would look up from his laptop, surprised that the sun had risen. This was his river. During the day, he still went to the law firm, but something was different. He stopped caring about becoming a partner. He did his work well, but without caring too much. His performance actually got better because he was no longer trying so hard to force a passion that was not there. His coworkers noticed. __quote _23__1 said, he was, because he was no longer fighting himself. At the end of 3 months, Daniel had written 90 articles. Some were good, some were okay, but all of them were his. He went back to Margaret's cafe with the notebook. "I am ready," he said. "I am leaving the law firm." Margaret raised an eyebrow. "And doing what?" "Freelance journalism," he said. "Investigative stories, human interest pieces." He told her, "I have 3 months of savings. If I can't make this work in that time, at least I'll know I truly tried." She offered a warm smile. Now you are truly rowing with the current. Daniel then gave his notice at the law firm. His father became very angry. His friends at work thought he was crazy. But his wife, who had watched him grow sad for many years, simply said, "I would rather be married to a happy writer than a very sad lawyer." The first month was filled with fear. Money was uncertain. He got many letters saying no. Doubt filled his mind. But then, a local magazine accepted one of his stories. Soon after, another publication asked him to write an article. Then, a charity group hired him to write their yearly report. And here is what Daniel learned. When he worked as a lawyer, 10 hours of work created only average results. But when he worked as a writer, 4 hours of work created amazing results. This was not because writing was easier. It was because he was finally moving with his natural flow. New chances appeared everywhere. Editors told other editors about him. Clients told other clients about him. Doors opened that he hadn't even tried to open. Within 1 year, Daniel earned the same money as his law job, but he worked half the hours and felt twice as alive. My friend, Daniel's story is not just about choosing a job. It speaks about your life's path. It touches on your relationships, your goals, and every big choice that shapes who you are. Because here is the simple truth. The right path does not get rid of hard times. Instead, it changes how you see them. On the wrong path, challenges feel like a punishment. But on the right path, challenges feel like training. On the wrong path, effort feels wasted. On the right path, effort feels like a good investment. On the wrong path, success feels tiring. On the right path, success gives you more energy. When you choose the right direction, you have already won half the fight. Not because the journey becomes easy, but because every step you take moves you forward, not sideways. So, ask yourself these 5 questions. First, when do hours feel like minutes? That is your true current. Second, what work makes you forget to look at the time? That is your river. Third, where do good chances appear without you having to chase them? That is your path. Fourth, what difficult task excites you instead of making you tired? That is your direction. Fifth, if money was not an issue, what would you do every single day? That is your answer. And if you are on the wrong path, if you have been fighting against your natural flow for years, please listen closely. It is not too late. Daniel changed at 35. Margaret knew writers who changed at 50, at 60, even at 70. The best time to change was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. You do not have to spend the next 30 years fighting yourself. You do not have to reach the end of your life feeling tired and full of regret. You have permission to stop fighting against who you are. Start moving with your true nature. If this story reminded you of a choice you have been putting off, share it with someone who is also at a turning point. Sometimes we need to hear our own truth reflected back to us before we can truly act on it. What river are you rowing right now? And is it moving in your direction? Until next time, remember, life is too short to spend it fighting against your own current. Find your river, choose your direction, and let the journey carry you forward, because when you are on the right path, the destination will take care of itself.